Welcome to the first of many Guardian Independent Operator Association webinars. My name is Randy Smith, and I'm honored to be the Executive Director of GIOA and to work beside and along with the 12 operators that are on the GIOA board. And we're all there to help create this important association. GIOA is a bona fide, legal, nonprofit whose stated mission is to glorify God by protecting and promoting and preserving the role of the operator in all 50 states for the next 50 years. Our purpose is to faithfully uphold the principles and practices of our shared past while forging a shared path for our future. That's important. I mean, the mission and the purpose says a lot of what we're about. Our initial objective and the reason that we have been created was to find sustainable insurance, a sustainable insurance offering that is comparable to what operators had previously, while meeting the needs of operators across the country and improving whenever possible and ensuring coverage for the most vulnerable among us. And that has been a big task. We've been working on it all year, ever since we found out that Chick-fil-A Inc. was no longer going to negotiate insurance for operators across the country. I'm excited to share that 80%, that's 80% of all operators are have acknowledged that we have achieved that goal of because they have joined GIOA for 2 years, for the 2-year insurance program. It is a legal requirement that associations offer more than just health insurance. So GIOA will offer multiple resources and opportunities for you, the operator, to bring additional value to your organization. We're going to bring additional value to your organization. Up to this point, we have been 100% focused on the GIOA medical, life, long-term disability insurance program. But we've already been working to add more resources and partnerships that will provide additional value to you and your team in the near future. We'd love to hear from you in the future. We'd love for you to tell us the kind of topics that you would like GIOA to present to you in the future. So I'll give you my address here in a minute, and that way, just please just send it to me, randy@gioa.info, and we'd love to get back with you and talk more about that. So one of those resources and partnerships that we have created is a gentleman by the name of Michael Palmer. Let me introduce Michael to you. Michael was a Division I college football player, athlete, that also played 5 years in the NFL. He played for Atlanta Falcons as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers. After that, he's been a financial planner for the last 7 years with Ashford Advisors. He's an advisor to the GIOA board. That's where we got to know Michael, and he has helped us make some critical decisions and analysis as we've tried to determine which way we should go with particular insurance programs. His email is michaelpalmer@ashfordadvisors.net, and his office phone number is 678-281-9136. The webinar today is named Money with Michael. He's going to discuss broad categories of financial principles like cash flow, banking, liability, some insurance. And if you want more information about these specific categories, all you need to do is to just contact Michael, and he'll be happy to follow up with you. But he will not be following up with anyone unless you email him or send him a telephone message, and that way he'll follow up appropriately. So with that, Michael, tell us about Michael and Money.
Yeah, thanks, Randy. You made me sound so important with that introduction. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah, just a couple of quick housekeeping items like Randy just said. The first thing is I don't have access to anybody's personal financial information or personal information, period. So you're not going to be getting phone calls from me, emails from me, anything like that. I'm not going to be blowing you guys up. If you guys want to chat or talk about anything, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you guys to reach out. Randy just told you guys my email address and my phone number. I think we're going to put it on the screen at some point during this little webinar, so you guys will have access to that. But you guys can always reach out to Randy or Jonathan Hollis or any of those guys and get access to it if you guys want to. The purpose of these webinars is not for me to give you personal advice on your finances. The purpose is just to simply serve as educational. So if you want personal advice, like I said, I'm happy to take a look at your stuff or talk to your financial advisor, things like that. We all just kind of thought that this could be helpful for just talking through some general topics and just kind of broad subject matter. So lastly, kind of along those lines, I'd love to learn more from you guys about what topics you think would be beneficial. I certainly don't want to be doing these webinars if y'all aren't finding it to be informational or helpful or anything like that. So please feel free to shoot me an email or tell Randy or any of these guys some things you'd like for me to talk about. I think I've got a pretty good idea just with some other operators that are clients and just some good things it would be to talk about. But I'd love to hear from y'all just about more things that you are interested in. So one of the things I've found to be true about business owners in general, and I guess specifically today, operators, is that you're very focused on your business and you're amazing at your business. You know all the intricacies about it, you know how to maximize profit, you know how to maximize growth, and you know all the ins and outs of everything to do with your business. And because of that, lots of times your personal finances kind of take a back seat. And it's typically disorganized in a lot of ways. And so one of the big focuses of my job, if I can get my screen to share, one of the big focuses of my job is just to help people and clients get organized. So this is just a made-up client you can see up here that's just Pat and Sam operator. This is just called the Living Balance Sheet. This is just an organizational tool and kind of software that we use just in planning, financial planning for clients. So I'm not going to go through all this specifically, but what I want to do really quick for a couple quick minutes, just give you all a general idea of some of the topics we're going to talk about in the future in these webinars. So today we're going to spend time down here on cash flow. So once again, just made up this client, just put some numbers in here, but we're going to talk today on cash flow and structuring bank accounts, how to help you guys come up with a money management system that kind of automates your life and helps you save more money than you thought possible without seriously impacting your lifestyle. So we're going to talk through that today. In the future, we're going to talk about savings today. In the future, we're going to talk a little bit more about how much should you have in savings, investments, right? Stocks and bonds, all the really fun stuff that people really want to talk about. What does that look like? How do you properly build an investment portfolio? What's the proper standard deviation to have in that investment portfolio, right? Standard deviation just meaning risk or kind of what kind of roller coaster ride are you comfortable riding? We're talking about rebalancing. How often should you rebalance? Should you rebalance? All of those types of things. Retirement accounts. So one of the things we're going to talk about, I think, it's just simple IRAs versus 401ks versus SEP IRAs, just different retirement plans. One of the things that are being tossed around or discussed is in the future having a 401k at the association level of GIOA. I think that could be pretty beneficial in a lot of ways to the operators. One, it can lower fees. Two, it takes the headache off of y'all's plate of being the go-to person for your employees whenever they have a 401k question, whenever they have a question about their simple IRA or any sort of retirement accounts. It takes liability and just responsibility off your plate as an operator. So that'll be one of the things we'll talk more about in the future. But we'll talk about those, should it be a Roth 401k, should it be a traditional safe harbor, just all of those kind of buzzwords. So we'll get to those in the future. Buying homes, right? Whether it's personal residences, vacation homes, things like that. How much should you put for a down payment? What should a mortgage look like? It's just basically this kind of category. It's just what do we do with money and why? We're also going to talk through some insurances, right? Which nobody likes talking about. It's not fun, but still important to talk through. So liability insurance, umbrella policies. Should you have an umbrella? How many million should you have? Disability insurance, which I think you guys are making a decision on disability insurance and life insurance and health insurance next month. So life insurance is really simple, right? You're either alive or you're dead, right? It either pays out or it doesn't. There's no real nuance to it in the simplest form. But in the future, we'll talk through term insurance, whole life insurance, universal life, variable universal life, index universal life. There's a bunch of different types of insurance, life insurance specifically. The disability insurance that you guys are kind of working through and just got approved for up to $75,000 can be covered. Disability insurance is all about the fine print written in the contract. So disability insurance is typically about 100 pages in an actual contract or a policy. So I'm not going to spend time today going through this. But if y'all want some more information on the nuances of, when does this pay, how much does it pay, when does it stop paying, and what situations does it pay, just all of those types of things, I'm happy to just kind of walk you guys through that at some other time, or just reach out, and I'm happy to kind of walk you through what those benefits look like. So those are just kind of generally some broad topics we're going to cover at some point. Once again, I'd love to hear more from you guys on what you would like to talk about if there is something more specific. So today, I'm going to come down here kind of this cash flow area and just talk through and just kind of draw here for a second and just talk through a couple things that I think could be beneficial or helpful. So one of the things that people always ask me is, how much money should we be saving? Right? Just right off the bat, what's the number? So I always call this just kind of a 30-second budget. Of course, that's not going to work. 1 second. There we go. All right. So I always call this just a 30-second budget where you have 100% of your income. So this is just your gross income that hits your bank account. And depending on where you live, depending on how much money you make and your tax rates, things like that, this obviously changes. But let's just say that you pay 35% taxes. As depressing as that may be, but we're talking state, federal, local, city, ad valorem, liquor, sales, just all the different taxes across the board. Could be higher, could be lower. Once again, just kind of depending on how much money you make and what state you live in and what city in that state. Generally speaking, if you're sitting across the table from me, I'd be getting to know you, asking you about, do you give money? Is that something that's important to you? I'm just going to put on here, just for simplicity, that you give 10% of your income. Once again, I'm not your priest or rabbi, no judgment here. I'm just putting that number on here, whatever you believe you should be doing. So my goal for all my clients is to be saving 20% of their gross income. All right, so that's gross numbers, and that's saving into cash, saving into investment accounts, saving into retirement accounts, saving into secondary real estate, not primary, right? We all have to live somewhere at some point, so that doesn't really count as true savings. So the reason why, if you add all this up, that leaves you with 35% left for your lifestyle. So my job, whether you decide to retire tomorrow or you decide to retire 40 years from now, my job is to look at this savings, look at your cash, look at your investments, look at your retirement accounts, excuse me, and figure out a way to recreate this 35% that you're used to living on. Because we no longer have income coming in, so I've got to figure out a way to give you your income that you're used to living and enjoying your life on. So that 20% with compound interest and different things and proper planning and tax management could probably equal roughly that 35% in retirement, or at least we're going to come close, and we'll talk through that as you get closer to retirement. But just generally speaking, painting that broad brush, we want to be trying to save 20%. Now, what I see lots of times is that people tend to save somewhere kind of in that 5% range. That's what they put in their simple IRAs or maybe their 401ks, things like that. And they live off 50%. And it doesn't take a mathematical genius to know that 5% is never going to equal 50%, right? Now, it's not to say that if you're saving 5% today, then, hey, you're screwed if you don't get to 20% tomorrow. If you looked at me and you're like, I said, I need to lose 40 pounds, the quickest way for me to do that would be to chop off one of my legs. That's not helpful, right? So the same way on building a financial plan, if you're saving 5% today, the goal is, okay, how do we get to 7 or 8% in the next 12 months, maybe 18 months, something like that, and then to 10, 11%, and just keep growing gradually. So how do we actually do that? So when you start thinking about a cash flow plan and structuring bank accounts, typically what I see with lots of operators is you have some sort of corporation defined, whether it's an LLC, an S corporation, maybe it's an LLC taxed as an S corporation. Maybe that's a webinar we could get into of what should you be, if anything. But typically you have an LLC bank account. It's just typically I'll just put checking account. It's just typically a checking account. And this is where your income flows into, right? So you get paid, goes into your LLC checking account. What I typically suggest is you have an LLC tax account, and right off the bat, you just move a certain percentage based on what you and your CPA talk about, what tax bracket you're in. You just move a certain percentage into that tax account right off the bat. And generally speaking, you're going to pay quarterly taxes. Maybe you're paying annual, just depending on how some things are set up. But generally speaking, it's probably going to be quarterly tax. So the money flows in the LLC checking account. You pay some money over to the tax account, and then you flow money to the family, kind of your personal side of the finances. So what I typically suggest for people and for clients is to open up another bank account. And I give these accounts cheesy names. Cheesy just tends to stick, and we tend to remember them and the purpose of them. So I tend to call this account a war chest. And what I mean by war chest is I just want you to have this mindset that, hey, whatever happens in life, we can handle it. If somebody loses a job, if we have medical expenses, or something good, like there's a foreclosure at the beach that we want to go buy a condo down at the beach, this is our true savings account where we handle those types of things from. So money flows into the war chest. I don't really care where you bank. All banks are going to be roughly the same, generally speaking, as long as they're FDIC insured. I tend to like online banks. There's no fees and minimums generally, and they offer a pretty good interest rate compared to a branch bank. But the money flows into the war chest account, and then you're going to send money out to the family checking. And the family checking pays your normal month-to-month expenses, right? So this is the mortgage, this is the gas, the groceries, the utilities, the date night. If you're like me and you've got young kids, you're constantly buying diapers. But it's just paying your normal month-to-month expenses. Now, the other thing that we know to be true is that you also have things come up throughout the course of a year that you're not necessarily planning on. So we have future spend items, or things that are going to be spent in the future. So family checking is your normal month-to-month spending. Future spend is your bi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, annual type of expenses. Things like car maintenance, home maintenance, vacations, medical bills. Christmas is coming up where you have to buy gifts. Once again, if you're like me, people are having babies and you have to keep giving people a gift for their baby showers. But just things that come up throughout the course of the year. So we also want to move money automatically to that account. All right, so I've got a bunch of arrows drawn here and a bunch of bank accounts. So practically, let's just walk through some real numbers and kind of see what this would actually look like in real life. So just picking numbers out of the sky, let's just say that up here you made $30,000 in a month, okay? Because one of the things I know about operators is your monthly income changes, right? So lots of times it's really hard to manage because one month you might have a great month, the next month not a great month. So how do we kind of manage this and almost make this feel normal, or like we're getting a normal W-2 paycheck or the same amount of money every month? So let's say you made $30,000 in a month, and just making up a number for tax, let's say that you moved, let's call it $8,000 over here to the tax account. So now we still have $22,000 to flow down here to this war chest account. So $22,000 flows into the war chest. And let's say that we spend $15,000 a month. That's what we call our burn rate, or the amount of money it takes you to live every month. And we put $2,000 a month into the future spend, because once again, we know that things are going to come up throughout the course of a year that we're going to have to pay for. So how will this kind of piece it together? $30,000 drops into the LLC checking account. $8,000 goes to the tax account. $22,000 automatically goes to the war chest. $15,000 automatically goes to family checking, and $2,000 automatically goes to future spend. So the war chest, without you doing anything, has now increased by $5,000 that month, without you doing anything. So most of the time, if all of our money flows directly into the family checking account, what are we all tempted to do? Spend it, right? That's normal. That's everybody. Advertising and marketing spend billions and billions and billions of dollars every year to get you to spend money. So all we're trying to do here is put money into savings first. It's called save first and spend second. So in a lot of ways, I want you to think of the war chest as your new employer paying you a paycheck to your family checking account of, in this case, $15,000. So let's go on the other end, or conservative end, and let's say you don't have a great month in this example. So instead of making $30,000, you bring in $25,000 this month. It's a different color. You bring in $25,000 this month. So you bring in $25,000, we move $7,000 over here to the tax account. So then we're sending roughly $18,000 to the war chest, okay? Now, same type thing. We're not going to change our monthly burn rate because that's the amount of money we need every single month to live. So 15,000 goes to the family checking, 2,000 goes to the future spend. So the war chest that month automatically collects $1,000. Okay. Once again, you don't have to do anything. It just automatically happens. Now, let's say you have an awesome month and you bring in 40,000. And let's say that of that 40, we move 10,000 over here to the tax account. So then we have roughly 30,000 to send to the war chest. 30,000 goes to the war chest, 15 to family checking, 2 to future spend. So that month, we save 10,000 automatically without doing anything. Or sorry, 13,000. Math is hard sometimes. $13,000 that month, right? So the beauty in this is automating your personal finances and automating your personal life. At the end of the day, what my job is to take a lot of the onus off of having to worry about personal finances and putting systems like this in place so that you guys can go focus on being awesome operators. And what I think is even more important than that, being awesome husbands and wives and awesome moms and dads. And the best way to do that is to automate a lot of your personal finances. But the other thing that I know to be true about this, and I know this looks kind of wonky and there's arrows going everywhere, it's uncomfortable at first until you get used to it. But I see time and time again that over time, this helps people save more money than they ever thought possible. And over time, you're going to see that war chest continue to grow. And we're going to get to these conversations more in the future webinars. But then, we're not going to just keep cash the rest of our lives. We're going to start buying stocks and bonds. We might go buy some real estate. Maybe we invest in a business. We're going to talk about 401ks and IRAs, and granted, those would probably come from the LLC checking account, but it's just basically to say, hey, we're going to start deploying this money to different places once we get to a certain cash position. So over time, automating these things and not putting all of your money directly into the checking account, because we put it in the checking account, we're going to go spend first, and whatever's left over then gets moved to savings. In this situation, in this system, we're going to save first and we're going to spend second to make sure that we're saving the majority of our money, or we're going to save the right amount of money, because at the end of the day, we're trying to get here to this goal of saving this 20%. So if we can almost cap the lifestyle at whatever you're comfortable at, I think we all believe that as operators, you're going to keep making more money and be more successful over time. So as you're making more money, this war chest will automatically be collecting that extra money. So this is just one quick example, and I know there's arrows everywhere and it's kind of complicated as it looks right here. It's always hard to do these things just generalize without sitting there talking to somebody specifically about their situation, but just trying to give you guys an idea of one of the ways you can manage cash flow and things like that. Once again, I'd love to hear from you guys some more on other topics that y'all would like to talk about in the future. We've got all these different things that we can talk through and things like that, but nice to kind of meet you guys via Zoom. And Randy, I appreciate the time today, and I'll let you take it back over.
Great. Michael, thank you so much for those great perspectives on money. You're very wise, and I think you had told me that while you were playing in the NFL, a lot of the pro athletes started chatting with you all the time about money, and that's how you knew that you needed to go into the business of financial planning. So thanks for all those athletes that you helped not lose all their money. And thank you for how you are already helping operators today make some good financial strategy decisions. And being a guy that I was with Chick-fil-A for 34 years and did a lot of planning on financial stuff, but I now am retired. I've been retired for 2 years and absolutely love it. And now getting the opportunity to be the executive director of GIOA, it's just a privilege for me. But I will tell you, it's important to do what you need to do so that you can retire appropriately. And some people get to the end of that road and it comes a lot quicker than they realize. So the concepts that you're talking about surely have helped so many people in the past. So thank you for your wisdom to help other operators that you have in the past, and thank you for what you'll do in the future.
Of course.
So let me remind the operators, if you want more on any of these topics from Michael, give him an email or give him a call. Also, just as he asked for more topics, would you please send me at GIOA, at randy@gioa.info with additional topics that you would like to have that don't involve money, but it involves resources and how to make your team better, or how to help your organization overall. I want to tell you, next month, we are planning to do a webinar on banking, and we're going to go totally deep on banking. And we've already set this thing up. United Community Bank, they're out of Atlanta, but they're in about 8 or 10 regional areas. And so they're one of the larger banks. I know Chick-fil-A Inc. uses some of those resources, but we're going to have some of their executives spend time with us and talking to us about important concepts within the banking world that we need to be aware of. And so that will be in October sometime. We're not planning on doing one of these webinars every month, but we'll let y'all drive how many webinars that you really want to participate in. And so I do want to remind you one last time that GIOA is an association that was created and is run and operated by operators. 100% of the board members are operators. And let me just, since I've got a couple minutes here, tell you who they are. Cliff Daniels, Justin Day, Tony Cicero, Joe Ingert, Bob Fowl, Todd Langston, Josh Malone, Justin Mize, Arthur Porter, and Melissa Winkfield. And also, there have been some other operators that have really helped us dramatically, because there's only so many spots that we can have on the board. But we're calling these guys and gals GIOA ambassadors. And Joshua Crow, Nathan Buchanan, Rick Gonzalez, Chase Alcott, Lance Reed, Herb Tyler, Aaron Van, and Court Graves. These are folks that can certainly tell you more about GIOA, either the ambassadors or the board of trustees for GIOA. So we just appreciate all of their work, because they are using the same products that you are using. So I just thank you. I want to close by thanking everybody for trusting GIOA with your insurance needs. And I just want to say that we're going to do our very best to be what you want us to be, and that's watching out for you. So thank you for being an operator. God bless GIOA. God bless you, and God bless every operator and their family. So with that, I'll close, and thank you for your participation today.